brother! Guys, at the end of the last season of Bluey, we were all treated to a literal surprise. Like, the name of the episode was Surprise! And it was released after, hands down, the biggest episode of Bluey I think everyone thought was the finale for season 3.
The sign.
And yet, 1 week later, there was a surprise new episode that indeed packed a surprise, because throughout that episode, Bluey is asking Chili what it's like to have kids, while Bandit juggles playing with his kids 2 very different playstyles. Bingo is pretending to have kids while Bluey is running around with a ball blaster. But then at the end of the episode, we get a rare flash forward to the not so distant future where a now adult Bluey is dropping in for a quick visit with Bandit and Chili. She walks in, admires the house, Chili jokes about how Dad almost sold it, a reference to the last episode, and then the doorbell rings again, and hiding behind the door, ready to attack with yet another ball blaster, is a small child, clearly the offspring of our titular hero, Bluey! And that's how the episode and the season ends, with no further explanation. Just confirmation that yes, Bluey will eventually have a kid, something I don't think any of us were ever in doubt of. Because listen, you can think this show is for kids as much as you want, but I assure you, it is by parents for parents.
The cartoon dog says to put some cardboard down underneath first.
I'm not taking advice from a cartoon dog.
But the bigger question this reveal left the entire fandom wondering is, who is the father? Who does Bluey marry? And if you're sitting there thinking like, come on, Jay, it's clearly no. No, it's not clear. It is very not clear.
Do I make myself clear? Inescapably.
But as of now, there are at least 2 pretty obvious candidates that have split the fandom in half. First, we have Mackenzie, Bluey's friend from school, who she sees every day. Or second, we have Jean-Luc, the French-speaking Labrador she met camping that one time. Who will win Bluey's heart? Today, we break it all down.
Jay!
Okay, here we go. Jean-Luc versus Mackenzie. Whose kid is that? Well, actually, before we dive in, we should, in the name of completeness, acknowledge that there is a third possibility that the child is actually Bingo's rather than Bluey's. Because when Bluey arrives, Chili says Bingo is already out back.
Come on, Bingo's out the back.
So it is possible that this is Bingo's child instead, especially since Bluey doesn't seem like she's corralling her child into the house or making mention of them at all. But that said, the kid is also orchestrating a sneak attack on Bandit, so it's also possible that it's all part of a great plan to make sure the surprise stays alive. I mean, really, it's Bandit's own fault he's getting attacked here. I mean, if he wasn't such a good play-first parent to Bluey, she wouldn't be just the same with her own kid, and then Bandit wouldn't be under play fire. So really, I'd give it 11 out of 10, A+ parenting, if you ask me. But getting back on track, I think it's worth noting as well that while Bingo is already at the house, Bluey's arrival is a surprise to Chili when she gets there. So did both girls just arrive randomly at the same time? Did Bluey happen to show up in the middle of a planned visit by Bingo? Or is it no surprise at all that Bingo was there because maybe she just still lives at home? And why would that be? It's certainly hard to know without knowing how far into the future we are. I mean, maybe she's just still in school. Maybe she's just saving money. Or maybe something worse, like did she fall ill? Is she injured? Because you really never know with this show. And earlier in this very episode, Bingo was learning how to treat one of her tennis ball children who was dealing with disability. Namely, his head was too small for his body.
Compared to what?
And I've seen a lot of thoughts on this, but what do you think? Why is Bingo at the house? But y'all, we do need to give a brief pause right there to give a huge thank you to today's sponsor, BetterHelp. Because guys, it is 2025, and that means we have 365 blank pages lying before us just waiting for each day's story to be written. And who knows, maybe that seed you planted a few years back will finally grow into something special, or maybe you've got a plot twist on the horizon. Either way, the real key is to remember that you hold the pen in life and get to write your own story. Pro tip, go ahead and make yourself the main character there. But I know, while that's an easy to stomach metaphor, sometimes there's something we want to put down on that page, but something else is holding us back. Like for real, sometimes my therapist will stop me mid-sentence and be like, well, then why haven't you? Why haven't you done the thing you said you just wanted to do? Like, what is holding you back? And who knows, maybe something is holding you back, but oftentimes, at least for me, the only thing holding me back is myself. So write your story with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/super to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/super. Link is in the description down below. But either way, while it remains a possibility, I really don't think this is Bingo's kid. I mean, the point of the episode is that Bluey is wondering what it's like having kids.
Bluey, that's what having kids is like.
And now, yes, she has one. Or at least one. Plus, the coloring of the child is just a lot closer to Bluey's color palette than Bingo's, but infuriatingly, it is also similar to what the offspring of either Jean-Luc and Bluey or Mackenzie and Bluey might look like. So let's break it down. We've got ears, fur color, and fur pattern, all of which I'm gonna say now are no help at all. But again, in the name of completeness, we're gonna look at it anyway, because I know this is something people like to use as part of their argument to determine who they think the dad is. So, as you can see, the child has one ear up and one ear down, which at first seems like a slam dunk for Jean-Luc, who has 2 ears down compared to Bluey's 2 ears up. And if the kid is 50-50, this works great. And yet, Mackenzie himself just has 1 ear up and 1 ear down. So what if the kid just takes directly after him in this regard and it's less of a shared trait? I mean, after all, color-wise, Bluey basically looks like a mini bandit, while Bingo is basically just a mini chili, so shared traits are not necessary. Plus, even if mixed, Jean-Luc's ears are down in more of like a floppy way rather than a bent ear that usually stands up like Mackenzie's. So while it's close, I guess I would have to give that point to Mackenzie. But then there's the overall coloring and the pattern of the child, which has the same problems. Mackenzie and Bluey both have varied fur patterns, while Jean-Luc has a solid color for his whole body. Meaning, either way, the child is definitely a mix, but notably, to me, there is no white fur on the child. Everything is some shade of blue to bluish gray, very similar to the coloring of Jean-Luc's whole body. Meaning, I guess point Jean-Luc, but then you could also just look at the primary fur color on the kid, which, fun fact, is a near perfect mix of Bandit and Chili's primary colors too. So maybe most of the kid's features are just all coming from the Healer side of the family. I mean, hey, just look at Uncle Stripe's ears, and hey, Grandpa Healer's multicolored eye pattern. You see what I mean? No help. So instead of cartoon genetics, let's instead turn to lore.
No, anything but that.
Dun, dun, dun. Out of the gate, Mackenzie seems like the clear winner. I mean, after all, he is a much more recurring character that the audience is way more familiar with.
Ooh, Bluey's gonna marry Mackenzie.
He even has an entire episode semi-dedicated to him dealing with his fear of abandonment, specifically from his mother. And I mean, can you think of a mom less likely to abandon her child than Bluey?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Although, to be fair, I think that's just most moms, but I think you know what I mean. She would be a comfort to him. But in any case, Bluey's relationship with Mackenzie stands out from her relationship with almost any other kid in her class because the two are often at odds, harboring a constant love-hate dynamic where they bicker about a lot of things, but then also work it out in the end. It's lovely. Voice crack there. You're welcome. But the huge episode that any Bluey Mackenzie shipper would point to is
Barky boats.
in this episode, the bigs, who are just older students who act as mentors to the younger students, come to visit, and Bluey and Mackenzie's bigs are clearly interested in each other and keep trying to spend time together, much to the annoyance of Bluey and Mackenzie.
Do you want to just quickly give it to Mackenzie?
No.
Their teacher, Calypso, uses this as a learning opportunity for the kids and has them play Barky Boats, where they touch hands to create a dam before the eventual rising tides force their boats down a careening river. And the boats go through crazy turns, ups and downs, but eventually find a peaceful ending. And as the boats travel, if you're Bluey and Mackenzie, it seems like Calypso is describing the Bigs' journey through adolescence, but it is also clear, to the audience anyway, that she is also teaching them about their own relationship with each other. In fact, there was a whole nother episode where this exact thing happens between Bluey and Mackenzie. In that episode, all the kids are trying to play shops, but Mackenzie is hesitant to get involved because he's afraid they won't ever actually get to play because specifically Bluey will continue to stop the game and introduce way too many rules.
Okay, but promise we won't take ages deciding stuff, okay?
And it turns out his prediction is spot on as the game slams to a halt over and over and over as new rules and roles are assigned to each kid before he eventually gets so fed up he just storms off.
Stop, hang on, wait, ding, wait. We're never gonna start a shop. I'm leaving.
See how well he knows her? Of course, as you might expect, in the end they work it out and the game proceeds and everyone has fun.
Hooray!
But getting back to Barky Boats, Calypso's lesson, placed in front of the backdrop of the romantic storyline happening between their two bigs, seems to foreshadow a Bluey and Mackenzie future. And undoubtedly, it's a strong case, to be certain, especially compared to Jean-Luc's lone episode appearance, which confirms that the two kids won't even see each other again until they are at least teenagers. And yet, well, let's dive in. Jean-Luc's lone appearance comes in the episode
Camping.
which, whilst just a single episode, is a huge fan favorite. I mean, there is merch around just this episode. So while we might see Mackenzie a lot more often, Jean-Luc's lone appearance is powerful. First of all, the entire point of that episode is that language is not a barrier to friendship, love, or play. Jean-Luc is French-Canadian and only speaks French.
Salut, Bluey. Moi, c'est Jean-Luc.
But the two kids do not let it slow them down at all and are eager to spend each day playing together, hunting pigs. Sort of. But before they resort to hunting, their plan for food is actually to grow their own food, which they try to accomplish by planting an acorn together. Which, obviously, this doesn't work over the course of one weekend, hence pig hunting. But in another rare flash forward, at the end of that episode, we see a teenage Bluey having returned to the campsite to read a book under the now fully grown tree. And off screen, we hear Jean-Luc say,
"Hello, Bluey."
No joke, you guys, when I was just recalling that scene in my mind to write this script, I was in a coffee shop writing and I almost started crying. Told you, it's powerful. But that one tiny little scene is huge because, first of all, Jean-Luc says hello in English. And then if you go to the official Bluey website, it says, as Jean-Luc gets older, he teaches himself to speak English so he can return to Australia and visit Bluey. Okay, so first of all, he lives in Canada. English is pretty common there anyway, and yet it is not a school-taught thing for him. It is self-taught for the purpose of flying across the entire Earth to visit Bluey. That is quite a journey. Australia and Canada are not close together. Not only that, it specifically says his intent on learning English is for Bluey. So I'm sorry, even if he's not the dad, He certainly wants to be.
Au revoir, Bluey.
And then there's the tree itself. What is the tree meant to represent? Perhaps it's just that even a couple of days of friendship can produce something beautiful. Or perhaps it's just that if you put good into the world, good things happen. But you could also interpret it as a living thing that Jean-Luc and Bluey made together. Foreshadowing?
Oh no.
And don't discount the fact that Bluey herself is sitting under the tree to begin with. Because, like, right away, that suggests that she has continued to check on the tree and is aware of its existence. Meaning that no matter what, she never forgot about Jean-Luc.
Coincidence? I think not.
And also don't forget where the tree is, like at the campgrounds, right? Like how nearby is that? It's certainly some kind of destination because they were on a trip there, meaning for Bluey to even get here, it's been a little effort or drive just to be sitting there. And it seems unlikely that this is her first visit. Because, like, seriously, what would the odds be that on Jean-Luc's next visit, he finds her in the same spot? Like, is she trying to run into him here in the same spot the two went camping as kids? It's romantic, I'll give her that. And also, not the first time we've heard this story.
Flashback.
Dun dun dun!
End of flashback.
Do you remember the episode Fairy Tale?
This episode of Bluey is called Fairy Tale.
In this episode, Bandit is putting the girls to bed and regaling them with a fairy tale from his youth.
Your mum wrote your name on everything.
It was the 80s. In the story, we learn about a campground trip the last generation of healers took when Bandit and his brothers were still kids. Bandit is teasing his younger brother Stripe only to get jinxed by his older brother Rad, meaning he can no longer talk for the rest of the trip until someone says his name, and his parents and brothers are no help on this front.
Right, so you want me to say your name so you can talk again? Well, you're dreaming, mate. You know what I call this? I call it a good start.
And Bandit spends the episode feeling awfully sorry for himself. But finally, he is saved by someone returning his hat to him and reading his name aloud from the inside of the hat. And that someone, according to him, was Chili.
Bandit Healer. Is this your hat?
Which in his mind is the first time they met, although she doesn't remember it.
Don't listen to him, it wasn't me.
Don't listen to her. It was.
But do you see the parallel? Two kids who can't communicate, have a single fated meeting on a trip to a campsite, and end up reuniting later and getting married? Yeah, sorry. I mean, I started out a big Mackenzie believer, but have since done a total 180 on Jean-Luc. I mean, it's just too cute. I mean, obviously I could be wrong and would love to hear your thoughts in the towel section down below, because what do you think? Who does Bluey marry? Jean-Luc or Mackenzie, or possible third off-screen character we haven't met, but that seems way less fun? Or is it Bingo's kid? Guys, thank you so much for watching today's video. Don't forget to leave a like on it if you haven't already, and subscribe so you don't miss any future Bluey theories from us. If you want to see a complete breakdown of why The Sign is one of the best episodes of television ever, you can check out this video right here. But Ben, until next time, I will see you in another life, brother.